So this is one of the most important sections in at least the discussion about Hiraṇyakaśipu, because we are getting to enter into the boons that he is asking of Brahma. It's important to note here that we always have two choices. Either we manipulate our ways through the circumstances of life, or we choose to take shelter of Krishna. In the case of Hiraṇyakaśipu, he is manipulating his way out, trying to deceive Lord Brahma, referring to Lord Brahma as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of the universe, and just trying to see if he can become immortal. For what purpose he's asking for immortality? Is for creating havoc in the universe, to exert his sole lordship over the entirety of existence. In English, there is a nice word to describe this. It's called subterfuge. When one tries to manipulate and just getting one's way out. That's what Lord Brahma is trying to do here. So I had analyzed a little bit his asking of Lord Brahma the different boons. As far as my count shows, it's about 21 boons he asks of Brahma. So of course, his foremost desire is to become immortal. While he is addressing Lord Brahma as the super soul of the universe, he also knows that Lord Brahma cannot award him what he is looking for, because Brahma himself is not free from death. And therefore it is impossible for Lord Brahma to give a benediction of deathlessness. So it's not that Hiraṇyakaśipu is not aware of that. He's aware of that, but at the same time, he's putting Lord Brahma on the pedestal just so that he can get his way out. So let's analyze his 21 asks here. So first he starts by saying, "O my Lord, O best of the givers of benediction, if you will kindly grant me the benediction I desire, please let me not meet death from any of the living entities created by you." This is his first ask. Srila Prabhupada points out in the verse number 35 purport, "Thus far, Hiraṇyakaśipu has adored Lord Brahma as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and has expected to become immortal by the benediction of Lord Brahma. Now, however, having come to understand that even Lord Brahma is not immortal, because at the end of the millennium, Lord Brahma will also die, Hiraṇyakaśipu is very carefully asking him for benedictions that will be almost as good as immortality. His first proposal is that he not be killed by any of the different forms of living entities created by Lord Brahma within the material world." So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur analyzes this further. Why this is his first ask? Okay. Why did he ask first that let he not be killed by any being created by Lord Brahma? Okay. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's analysis on this. Hiraṇyakaśipu imagined that Brahma might become impatient with his glorification and wish him to get on with asking for his boons. So he rushed and began to ask for what he wanted. Okay? You know, oftentimes when you, I don't know whether you have experience of writing patents. When you're writing patent, you try to write the broadest possible claim first, you know, because any of the sub-branches can get killed. But still, the broadest possible claim always is preserved. So likewise, here Hiraṇyakaśipu is trying to get the broadest possible wish fulfilled. So he thought, if I ask Brahma for immortality, he will not be able to fulfill it and will probably tell me that he too must die at the end of the great millennium. Thus, he will refuse my request. Therefore, let me use my intelligence and ask for boons that will result in my becoming immortal. Then he turned to Brahma and said, let me not die due to any being created by you. Since Brahma creates the bodies of all beings in the entire universe, Hiraṇyakaśipu was sure he could not be killed. So therefore, the first boon that he asks is, let me not meet death from any of the living entities that are created by you. Okay? Now he thinks, further that, okay, I may not be killed by any other creatures, that's fine, but death may come in other ways, right? So then he starts thinking further. So you can actually even think this in the Cartesian plane, thinking about the dimensions, going in the x-axis, going in the y-axis, going in the z-axis, So on the x-axis direction, almost like, you're saying that you cannot be killed inside or outside of any residence. And likewise, you cannot be killed on the ground or on the sky, So in this way, you have covered the x-axis and y-axis. And then he's thinking about the time axis and asking, let me not be killed during the day or in the night. So he thinks that he has covered all possibilities by doing so. So neither up nor down, neither inside nor outside, and neither during the day nor during the night. Okay? Then he thinks further that, okay, I have covered more or less, but who knows, I may miss something. Okay? So then he starts elaborating further. Let me not die at the hands of any being that might exist that hadn't been created by Brahma. Okay? So you see how he's trying to cover all possible scenarios. Then he says, I don't want to be killed by any weapon, by human being or animal. Now this animal is significant because his brother Hiraṇyaksha got killed by a boar, right? Lord Varahadev. So he has to cover an animal for sure. So no weapon, no human being, no animal. And from any living or non-living entity. And the phrase he uses is Vyasubhir Vasu Madbhir Va. Okay? Which means neither living nor non-living entity. Then he says, by no demigod or demon or some Maha Uruge or snake from the lower planets. Now he already asked for, okay, let me not be killed by any creature created by Lord Brahma, but he now tries to elaborate in case something gets missed, So in this way, so far, he had covered 19 of the boons, okay, from what I just described. Then Hiraṇyakaśipu also asks that Brahma grant him his own position with no rival. So he wishes to be the sole Lord of all the living entities and presiding deities, and to be awarded all the respect that comes from that position. So he is basically asking for, the next one is having the full sovereignty and all respect from everyone in the whole planet. Not even whole planet, but in the whole universe, okay? Here it actually goes beyond planetary systems, okay? And then he says that let he have all the mystic powers that are possible to have by the performance of tapasya and yoga process, Those yogis who have gone through long austerities and practice of yoga, he wants all the mystic powers that are possible to get. Okay? So he's asking for power, but most importantly, the last part is the key. and he doesn't want any of these to be lost at any time. Okay? So on this final request, Srila Prabhupada explains in the 37-38 purport that the demon understands that the power that is gained through the long performance of austerities and yoga could at any time be vanquished. But those that come through Lord's mercy, that could not be. And therefore, the final boon is really about let Brahma make his power last forever. And that's what he is asking for. Okay, now Prabhupada also gives some reasoning about Hiranyakashipu's asking for these specific boons in text number 36 purport. Hiranyakashipu was very much afraid of Vishnu's becoming an animal to kill him because his brother had been killed by Vishnu when the Lord took the shape of a boar. He was therefore very careful to guard against all kinds of animals. But even without taking the shape of an animal, Vishnu could kill him by hurling his Sudarshan disc, Sudarshan chakra, which can go anywhere without the Lord's physical presence. Therefore, Hiranyakashipu was careful to guard against all kinds of weapons. He guarded against all kinds of time, space, and countries because he was afraid of being killed by someone else in another land. There are many other planets higher and lower, and therefore he prayed for the benediction of not being killed by any resident of any of these planets. There are three original deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. Hiranyakashipu knew that Brahma would not kill him, but he also wanted not to be killed by Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. Consequently, he prayed for such a benediction. Thus, Hiranyakashipu thought himself securely protected from any kind of death caused by any living entity within the universe, within this universe. He also carefully guarded against natural death, which might take place within the house or outside of the house. So this is what Srila Jiva Goswami writes more regarding the Supreme Lord's form with hair and nails being spiritual. So Jiva Goswami writes that thus the Lord's hair and limbs described in the scriptures are composed of the blissful inherent nature or swarup of the Lord. Other living entities' limbs do not have that nature. So the difference between them and the Supreme Lord is clear. Okay. Brahma gave benedictions to Hiranyakashipu that prevented his death by living and non-living entities and objects. But those benedictions didn't include the instruments of the doer, such as his nails. Okay. So Jiva Goswami's argument here is that the nails are also a product of spiritual energy, or they're essentially Swarup of the Lord, part of the Swarup of the Lord. Or we can understand from this text that Hiranyakashipu was also given the boon to not be killed by any entity possessing or not possessing life, like this Vyasubhir and Vasumadbhirva. The Lord's nails, which actually killed Hiranyakashipu, right? Later on we will find out, arose from Lord's hands, which have life. And so the nails are said to have life even as nails in themselves have no life. Okay? Because the key question that can be asked is that, okay, Hiranyakashipu got killed finally by the nails of Lord Narasimhadev. So is that not violating, not getting killed by anything living or non-living? So Jiva Goswami's argument is that it is neither in one sense, or you can say it is simultaneously both. And because of that, it doesn't fit within the boon that he is receiving. Because the Lord's nails arose from Lord's hands, which have life. But nails actually are considered to be not having life. Okay? And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur shows the thought process of Hiranyakashipu like this in the context of verse number 36, that death can happen naturally. If I exclude all places and times as allowing for my death, a natural death will be avoided. The forms of Vishnu, such as Varaha, are all created by Brahma. This is his analysis. Okay? His analysis is that Varahadev, which killed his brother, or who killed his brother, is also created by Brahma. And that's the reason he asked the first benediction. Okay? So the forms of Vishnu, such as Varaha, are all created by Brahma, but Vishnu is also without form. If without assuming a form, he throws his chakra or another one of his weapons at me, what use are my boons? This is what I am concerned about. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reflecting Hiranyakashipu's thought process. So let me ask, not to be destroyed by any weapon or anything else. All the words inside and outside seem to include everything possible or everywhere possible. Vishnu might think of some loophole connected to the meaning of these two words, so I should mention particular places in order to have them excluded from causing my death. Therefore, let me say, not on earth, which covers the 7 lower planets down to Patal, and not in the sky. So here the earth and the sky actually, covers the entire planetary systems. And that's why I was describing, it's like y-axis really extended both upward and downward, covering all the planetary systems. Okay. So not on earth covers the 7 lower planets down to Patal, and not in the sky, which covers all the upper planets. While Brahma creates all beings, I'm afraid there are other beings created by Daksha, and so I will ask for men and animals, like all men and animals, separately in the boon. So this is the thought process. And furthermore, he says that because it is impossible to mention all species of life, Hiranyakashipu recites these words, Vyasubhi means by things without life, and Asumadbhi, which means by forms with life. And in this way, he is trying to assure a total coverage of all possible scenarios of his death. Thus, I cannot be killed by objects of any sort. Thinking he could not die, he then asked for another boon. Let me have no rival in battle and also supremacy over all beings as you have, Lord Brahma. Give me powers gained by austerity and yoga because these cannot be destroyed. So I hope you can appreciate the thought process of Hiranyakashipu, how he is directing his intelligence to become immortal, although Brahma technically cannot award it. And in this way, manipulating his particular set of circumstances to just get his way out. And we should remember that this is not the way to do things. We should always think about taking shelter of Krishna instead of manipulating circumstances or manipulating people for that matter. Thank you very much. We'll continue. Hare Krishna.